Welcome to the PlayStation Culture Rapid Fire. This is Josh. And Ken, you want to introduce yourself?
So what's going on, guys?
I finally got his bitch ass on camera, yo. And on 4K, no less. I think 4K is probably like 480i. Some shit like that. The same
So
resolution that Halo Infinite is running, apparently.
so fucking irritating, man.
So either way, we got some nice, delicious morsels of news. You know what we do? Little big news. Shit that goes under the radar that people don't really want to talk about because they would attack the big shit only. We're going to give you the little bits, the little nuggets, the little important, the niceties of the PlayStation culture. So, let's start off by telling you what we have on the table, on the menu today. So, the first thing that's on the menu is I can't read shit. You know, I'm getting old as a motherfucker, yo. So we're gonna talk about production.
Get your glasses,
Get your
boy.
bastards good. We're gonna talk about the subscription decline. We're gonna talk about the flexibility of the SSDs that Sony is allowing, and then we're gonna talk about the success of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and MLB the Show, which is interesting. So, before we get in there, we're going to do our little introductions. This is not a podcast, this is a show. So, first of all, not really an introduction because I kind of introduced myself anyway. Just to let you know what's on the table for me. You know, so much gaming news. Sometimes you got to take a break from the gaming news. And I'm just getting ready for my weekend. Um, got a lot of shit going on. That last weekend was rough. Rough. Say no to drugs. So don't do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't do it. But this week is gonna be better. I got it more prepared. I'm gonna head out to the beach. That's how I'm gonna break. I'm gonna fast from gaming by actually going outside and playing. You know, head out to the beach. Got some things going on with some little chickadees. And we'll see how that weekend shit works. What about you, Ken? What you got going on this weekend?
Man. Um, I got some work to do, man. Just working on a house. Um, Trying to get that fixed up. And yeah, just got some things I'm working on, man. Um, but I don't know. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot going on, man. It's hard to pinpoint one specific thing, but good thing is that when I'm not doing that, I could be doing this and talk about gaming shit, which is what I love to talk about. So,
That nigga's all
yeah.
work and no play. Niggas always toiling with something. I don't know what the fuck it is. But anyway, what do we got, man? What are we gonna start with?
So we can start off with, I think, a pretty interesting topic: the fact that Sony is securing enough components, the semiconductors, to essentially hit 22 million units sold, um, or 22 million units by their next fiscal year for 2022.
Was it March?
Um, yeah, March of 2022. Um, I personally I find that pretty interesting. Uh, just due to the fact that I don't know. I mean, I don't really know exactly what their plans are or like what their I guess you could say like their um ultimate goal is in terms of like their sales or whatever. But obviously, we know that they've been um like hitting their like making record breaking sales and things like that. So it'll be pretty cool to see, just the fact that they'll be able to go into 2022 relatively prepared, uh, to hopefully meet the demand, for people who aren't able to get the console now. So on that front, I think it's pretty cool. I can't wait to see kind of how that whole thing turns out. Um,
I totally forgot
but
this too. By the way, um, the PS5, the 500, $400, was it 400 for a $500 version is now making a profit. By the way, now that we're talking on that, So I'm not sure if you caught that
Yeah,
news. It's making a profit. The $400 one isn't, but they're subsidizing, um, offsetting the loss of money with peripherals and PS4s.
yeah, yeah. I heard about part of that. As far as the $400 one, that one I guess maybe went under the radar for me. But speaking of uh speaking of things exceeding expectation, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and MLB The Show seemingly has exceeded expectations for Sony, which I mean, in my opinion, I think it's to be expected. You know, Ratchet and Clank was a pretty highly anticipated game, especially being that it was supposed to showcase the power and the capabilities of the PS5 early on in the generation. And obviously, we know the situation with MLB. That game was available on multiple platforms after being exclusive for so long. So um, I think it's natural that the game, sold pretty well. Um, but apparently, Sony's also interested in doing more acquisitions, or they've made comments on future acquisitions as well. Um, and I believe they mentioned it here in the article, where it says, and as an example, that Housemark was an example of Sony sort of like accelerating their what you call it their investments into acquisitions as well as Nixus as well. But this is what it says: Sony has added that PlayStation Studios is accelerating investments to strengthen its production capabilities, mentioning the acquisition of Housemark as an example, and that 7 of Sony's 13 studios have been acquired. Totoki-san, Hiroki Totoki, has mentioned the acquisition of Nixus, which has excellent technology for porting game software between both platforms such as PC. Sony expects that Nixus will offer technological support to all of its studios in a horizontal manner. So, um, yeah, I mean, we can more than likely expect more uh, from Sony investing more into acquisitions as well. So I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, yeah. So what was the guy's name again?
Hiroki Totoki.
That sound like a bussin' ass sushi meal, yo. Like, that shit sound good, yo. Wait, what is it again? Say it again.
Hiroki Totoki.
Shit, can I get some Hiroki Tatoshi, please? Thanks. With a little bit of soy sauce.
Yep.
Shit sound bussin'. No, but on some real shit, um, it's going to segue nicely into the next topic here. But what I have to say about this specific statement is that they are definitely the PC gamings that they released is successful. We know that much. So expect more of that, right? Expect more of that. Um, the reasoning why they even and this was a you remember when like I would say about like a year and a half ago, everyone was upset about Sony doing PC ports and shit like that. Um, this is starting to show why. See, people forget that we are in a pandemic and that because of the nature of things, people are at home and they're staying at home. Now things are kind of opening up. People, the numbers are going to decline. So what Sony just reported is that they had 47 million 47 million PlayStation Plus members, and now it's at 46. So they kind of, I think they said it last year, but they expected it to be a decline because of the pandemic kind of transition into normalcy. So there's that. Also, overall PlayStation profile units or PlayStation network units has also been in a decline too. And what they had to say about this is, first of all, it was like 104 PlayStation profiles, I guess, if you want to call it that. They said, of course, 104 million is not a strong number, but we are looking at it. I mean, but are we looking at it as a declining trend? And they said, we don't think so. We're trying to analyze different elements, but there are no conspicuous trends that we can capture. Maybe this month or the next month, we will be able to continue to watch and do an analysis. At the risk of repetition, may I say that last year the stay-at-home initiative was so significant in hindsight that compared to the period of last year as a trend, of course, and its decline, you can't really compare fiscal 2019 and 2020 because what's happening there is that there were incentives to actually play your games. Now there's no incentive there and people are going out a little bit more. You could expect to see a decline. But they're going to offset these declines, which is normal, is natural, with doing things that they, that make some money as a company. And one of the things that I kind of want to sneak in there is Ghost of Tsushima has a standalone Legends mode. You don't have to buy the full game. I believe it's about $20. I'll leave it in the comments to let you know what it is exactly, but I think it's about $20 US. This is going to be a trend that Sony is going to be doing for now. You know what I mean? Because you get the Call of Duty at the end of the year, and then what are you going to have in terms of engagement or people wanting to have PlayStation Plus for the rest of the year? Sony's probably going to sprinkle in these little standalones, and along with what's the factions for The Last of Us. Knowing all of this, how do you feel about that, Ken?
As far as Ghost of Tsushima and the standalone situation.
As far as the decline of their subscriptions, and then their future plans of standalone.
So, from what I'm gathering, the 104, I believe, is supposed to be the active users for the PlayStation
Mm-hmm.
platform. Which I believe it was what that like. Actually, wasn't it higher than it was around like 113, right?
Mm-hmm.
Around yeah, it was higher before. Um, I mean, is it is it anything to really be like worried about? I don't really think so. I mean,
It's going to
you,
decline. It's flat out. It's
yeah,
going to decline. I mean,
yeah. I
Netflix
mean,
shits decline all the time, and then you're not going to have a steady base, which on Game Pass is not a big thing. You know what I mean? That's another issue. But yeah, go on.
yeah. I mean, I think it's to be expected pretty much for the most part, man. I mean, you can't expect that, you're going to have, 113 or whatever the number was, consistently all of the time. I mean, things change, things are always moving around, in terms of, how people engage with your product and things like that. So I don't really think it's like anything to be particularly worried about in terms of like, Ghost of Tsushima
Standalones.
uh, and the whole standalone situation. I think it's cool. I mean, for people who are interested in getting into the game without actually having to purchase the full game, it definitely fits into their model of, having more like free, not free to play, but live service style games. Um, I mean, personally, I don't. I mean, I'm hard pressed to say that it really makes much of a difference to me personally, but for those who are interested in playing games like the Legends or whatever, it's cool for them. But it's definitely telling in terms of like how Sony is trying to maneuver their games going forward. So on that part of it, it's pretty interesting. But
You got
I
factions
mean,
too. That's still coming out, and I just feel like we had a podcast about Sony needs to improve on their multiplayer.
they do.
And this is their initiative. If you haven't played Legends, it's a very well made game, multiplayer game, and this is definitely what the doctor ordered. People complain about shooters all the time. Well, we have like a basic multiplayer hack and slash, which by the way, the Legends does come with the Icky Island DLC, and they have a new mode, which it's basically 2-on-2. You're stealing points from each other, so you have a pair of two teams. Which now that you got your internet in gear, it'll be interesting to see like if we pair up with other people and stuff like that, and how it would work. I don't think you can
Oh
hit
yeah.
each other. You know what I mean? I think that it's more along the who can kill more enemies, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what, man? I forgot about that. We can actually we can actually play some games then.
'Cause that shit was rough. That fucking little sack boy shit, man. That shit was awful. Man, I was like, what the fuck? Let's try it again. It was the fucking 10th time, man, because you're dial up or whatever the fuck they gave you over there. Shit was awful.
The internet was better too, by the way, because I used that internet extension device, and it was better than what it was before. It was still bad.
It was so bad.
It's still bad.
Oh gosh. But our last topic here. Also, I'm always gotta take a look here, and it's getting late, so my energy level is starting to plummet. Before it fucking flickers out to nothing. Here's an interesting tidbit. So as you know that the PlayStation 5 is in its beta phase, and everyone knows at this point in time where you be able to basically use the expansion for the SSD. So the requirements is supposed to be 5.5 megabytes a second, or 5,000. That's what they had. I forgot what it is. Whatever it is, 5.5. This SSD is 3,900. Okay, so it is. So it's basically 5 gigs. It's supposed to be 5.5 gigs, and this one is 3.9 gigs. Um, in terms of like the speed, and the problem here is that it falls below the standard, but it still works. And people tested it, and they saw that the Ratchet and Clank worked flawlessly. So a couple of reasons, and I've been saying this before, I didn't think that it was that impressive. The Ratchet and Clank things, you could cheat that a lot, but they didn't never needed all of that speed to make that game work. Now, it also lets you know that it's pretty damn flexible in terms of like what they will be able to do. But it also is, don't get too happy about this since it's running under spec. Don't get too happy. And the reason why I say this is if there's a game that utilizes the SSD to the extent that Mark Cerny was talking about, this may not be enough in the future, in the next 3 years. You may run across a lot of issues and have to buy a better grade SSD. So don't just run around buying shit and not really paying attention to the specs, the specifications. And then get pissed off that I spent I spent like $120 and this shit ain't working when you should have spent $175. How do you feel about that?
Um, I mean, obviously you understand more of it than what I do personally, but uh, in terms of being more mindful of the SSD that you're purchasing, um, I don't know. Personally, my mind sort of goes to like just how like the difference in like owning a non-proprietary solution for the SSD expansion. Obviously it's a little bit more involved, so that means you have to essentially do your homework to figure out exactly which one would sort of like fall in line with what you're looking for, what you're trying to go for. This in particular, like you said, maybe right now it wouldn't cause any issues due to the fact that the games aren't really utilizing the SSD for the PS5 like completely just yet. But in the future, you know, maybe so, but I mean, I guess that just comes with the territory of having to what you call it, um, sort of do your homework when it comes to selecting the storage that you want to use for your PS5, and that best works for what you're trying to do. So, but nonetheless, it's interesting, just to sort of see, especially how the whole beta is kind of like rolling out, just in general. Um, but I mean, outside of that, I don't really have too much else to say about it.
Oh, it's no problem at all. I mean, just to kind of close this out, it's really telling that these games, and this is what I expected, they're not utilizing the SSD. So all this talk about, oh my God, cross gen, it wasn't even using it really.
Nope.
All that talking, all that shit.
Yo, where's that SSD at work, man?
Nah,
They're not really using
they
it.
wasn't even using it like that. The SSD, from according to Mark Cerny, it was to upload a whole bunch of fucking detail, micro detail, seamlessly, and no game is doing that right now. You haven't seen what the detail you will get out that SSD. We haven't seen it yet. So there you have it. We really appreciate your support. We really do. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment and let us know how you feel about the video, and what can improve, what can stay, and everything of that nature. But until then, we will see you next Thursday, same time. Peace out,
Peace
guys.
out, guys.